Our next guest is calling on the CEOs of 6 asset managers, including BlackRock, TIAA, and Vanguard, to review Tesla's valuation. The stock is down 16% just this week alone and 30% this year. Joining us right now, Randi Weingarten, president of the American Federation of Teachers. In making the call to the asset managers, she is raising concerns about the security of her workers' retirement portfolios. I want to welcome Randi to the show. Good morning. You know, there's a lot of Musk watchers, Tesla watchers, who I think are fascinated by this letter that you sent these asset managers. I want to understand why you decided to send it now.
So, Andrew, as you know, because, you know, you've had me on the show from time to time when we've done other letters, like when we were worried that hedge fund managers were, you know, in their corporate boards were trying to destroy teacher pensions when they were trying to get business from teacher pensions. So that, you know, we do this from time to time when we see an alarm bell. And what we saw was that when the JP Morgan analysts said that the stock was divorced from the fundamentals, we started watching it because of the $4 trillion of assets that are in retirement systems. Tens of billions are you know, Tesla stocks. And so we would have expected at that point, you know, at the middle of January or the end of January, for some one of these firms to do a real analysis, and they didn't. And what we're basically saying to them is, do your jobs. I'm not an investment analyst. I can watch the trends. You know, we are an economic union as well as an education union and healthcare union, but we're very concerned. And frankly, what we're concerned about is that because there's so much pressure by the Trump administration to kind of fall in line, we're concerned that people are not doing their jobs because they're worried that, you know, Musk is going to come after them. And, you know, it's not that I'm not worried about that, but I am more worried about the fact that if retirement assets are invested in Tesla and they go down precipitously, then state governments or others are going to have to find the money to pay retirees. I'm worried about that.
A lot of those retirement funds had huge gains in Tesla, and if you're going to be in stocks, there are times stocks go down, Randi. I mean,
but the issue was not that stocks go up and stocks go down. I mean, you guys, you know this better than I. I'm a school teacher and a lawyer.
It's gone way up. It's enriched a lot of Americans.
But the issue is this. When an analyst says that it is divorced from the fundamentals, that's the problem.
But Randi, here's the conundrum, and I'm going to put it to you. As long as I can remember, as it relates to Tesla and Tesla stock, analysts, and we can go back in history, have talked about the valuation of Tesla being divorced from reality. In fact, I believe that phrase has been used before. The last year, the year before that. And during that period, during the run-up, there were, by the way, a lot of folks out there who would short the stock, saying that it was actually a mistake to own the stock. And so the only reason I raise this is because I think that some people are going to look at this letter and say that it's politically motivated, given that the union is aligned with the Democrats and obviously Elon Musk is on the other side, as opposed to necessarily being something related to the actual fundamentals of the company. So that's why when I said why now, it's what is so different about the divorce of reality from the fundamentals today than it may have been 2 or 3 or 4 years ago.
So I guess what I'm concerned about, so Andrew, I am used to people calling me names about anything and everything. But I would just say we watched like a hawk what's going on in terms of pension funds and our members' retirement assets. And we were really concerned when we saw what JP Morgan said, and then the precipitous decline of the stock. And then when Tesla said, by the way, don't worry about it, we're going to have driverless cars. And that's just not true in terms of America. I have no idea what's going to happen in terms of China. So that's why we're asking the asset managers to do their job.
Randi, I understand why you're doing it, or at least why you say you're doing it. I'm just saying to you that there's going to be a perception out there by default that it's political, because I imagine there have been other companies with which the pension fund has owned those stocks over the years that you haven't sent similar letters to the folks who run these things.
We did a couple of months ago about private equity and about Stewart, but you just didn't cover
an individual
these things.
stock. I don't know. Is there?
No, Stewart. When we were really concerned with the Stewart bankruptcy in terms of health care and what the private equity funds have done and what we've seen in terms of that, and that was also something that involved our members' assets and also our members' jobs. We do this from time to time.
Right.
And I get your point. I know people say this all the time. But the point is, I'm making the opposite point, which is my fear is that because Mr. Musk has so much power, people are being silent instead of doing their jobs. All I'm asking people to do is do their jobs.
So, Randy, what kind of reaction have you gotten from the BlackRocks and TIAAs and others? You, of course, are their client. So I'm hoping when you send them a letter, they call you or send you one back.
I suspect that we will get letters back in the next few days.
How does this work? You can't just call them up on the phone? I would assume that you're actually one of their bigger clients.
Andrew, what we have is we have a pension council, and that represents, we have about 30 trustees on it from across the country, and it represents literally $4 trillion of assets. We are trying to make sure that our members, and frankly, not just our members, but people who get pensions, that those pensions are secure. They're deferred wages. They have a right to actually live in dignity. So I suspect, just like when we do other things, that we will hear from them, but I want them to take a real look at it. I don't want this to, obviously, some people are going to think this is political. This is about securing people's retirement benefits.
You're not an investment advisor. You said that, but just to fill in a couple of things what Andrew was saying. In December 2019, the stock was $20, under $30. Ron Barron is a longtime holder. He's got at least 10 times his money a return. He's as bullish as he's ever been on Tesla.
Right.
As the stock has gone from 20, went all the way up to 400, and now it has pulled back. But we've had debates almost every month from someone. You cite one analyst at J.P. Morgan. We've had debates. We'll have one from J.P. Morgan, another one from Goldman Sachs. One's bullish, one's bearish. So I just,
So, but think about it this way. You're covering this letter because you're thinking that it's important enough to cover it, just like you cover all these other people.
We like water cooler talks. We'll have you on whenever you want to come on, as you said.
Look, you've had me on when we've talked about AI. You've had me on at different kinds of times.
I just don't think you know whether this is a good price or not. I don't think anyone knows whether this is expensive or cheap, and it could be $800 in 2 years, and your pensions could be rich, or it could go down.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I don't know. I'm not the investment banker.
Right.
First off, I'd love to be on your show talking about career tech ed, talking about how we help young boys, how we do different kind of multiple pathways. I think that there is, that education gets divorced from the economy too much. But you're making my point. I don't know. We watched it from the outside. Right. We have pension funds that have tens of billions of dollars invested in Tesla, and there's warning signs. So we wrote to these investment managers and said, tell us what's going on, because we're concerned.